True development involves not only delivering aid, but also promoting economic growth, broad-based, inclusive growth that actually helps nations develop and lift people out of poverty. The whole purpose of development is to create the conditions where assistance is no longer needed, where people have the dignity and the pride of being self-sufficient. You see our new approach in our promotion of trade and investment, building on the outstanding work of the African Growth and Opportunity Act. You see it in the global partnership to promote open government, which empowers citizens and helps to fuel development, creates the framework, the foundation for economic growth. You see it in the international effort we're leading against corruption, including greater transparency, so taxpayers receive every dollar they're due from the extraction of natural resources. You see it in our global health initiative, which instead of just delivering medicine, is also helping to build a stronger health system, delivering better care and saving lives. And you see our new approach in our food security initiative, Feed the Future. Instead of simply handing out food, we've partnered with countries in pursuit of ambitious goals, better nutrition to prevent the stunting and the death of millions of children, and raising the incomes of millions of people, most of them farmers. And the good news is we're on track to meet our goals. As president, I consider this a moral imperative. As the wealthiest nation on earth, I believe the United States has a moral obligation to lead the fight against hunger and malnutrition and to partner with others. As president, I consider this a moral imperative. As the wealthiest nation on earth, I believe the United States has a moral obligation to lead the fight against hunger and malnutrition and to partner with others. When tens of thousands of children die from the agony of starvation, as in Somalia, that sends us a message we've still got a lot of work to do. It's unacceptable. It's an outrage. It's an affront to who we are. So food security is a moral imperative, but it's also an economic imperative. History teaches us that one of the most effective ways to pull people and entire nations out of poverty is to invest in their agriculture. And as we've seen from Latin America to Africa to Asia, a growing middle class also means growing markets, including more customers for American exports that support American jobs. So we have a self-interest in this. It's a moral imperative, it's an economic imperative, and it is a security imperative. For we've seen how spikes in food prices can plunge millions into poverty, which in turn can spark riots that cost lives and can lead to instability. So reducing malnutrition and hunger around the world advances international peace and security, and that includes the national security of the United States. And perhaps nowhere do we see this link more vividly than in Africa. On the one hand, we see Africa as an emerging market. African economies are some of the fastest growing in the world. We see a surge in foreign investment. We see a growing middle class. Hundreds of millions of people connected by mobile phones. More young Africans online than ever before. There's hope and some optimism. And all of this has yielded impressive progress. For the first time ever, a decline in extreme poverty in Africa. An increase in crop yields. A dramatic drop in child deaths. That's the good news. And in part, it's due to some of the work of the people in this room. On the other hand, we see an Africa that still faces huge hurdles. Stark inequalities, most Africans still living on less than $2 a day. Climate change that increases the risk of drought and famine. All of which perpetuates stubborn barriers in agriculture, in the agricultural sector. from the bottlenecks in infrastructure that prevent food from getting to market to the lack of credit, especially for small farmers, most of whom are women. I've spoken before about relatives I have in Kenya who live in villages where hunger is sometimes a reality. Despite the fact that African farmers can be some of the hardest working people on earth, most of the world's unused arable land is in Africa. 50 years ago, Africa was an exporter of food. There is no reason why Africa should not be feeding itself and exporting food again. There is no reason for that. In Africa and around the world, progress isn't coming fast enough. And economic growth can't just be for the lucky few at the top. It's got to be broad-based for everybody. And a good place to start is in the agricultural sector. So even as the world responds with food aid in a crisis, as we've done in the Horn of Africa, communities can't go back just to the way things were. Vulnerable as before, waiting for the next crisis to happen. Development has to be sustainable, and as an international community, we have to do better. So, here at the G8, we're going to build on the progress we've made so far. Today, I can announce a new global effort we're calling a New Alliance for Food Security and Nutrition. And to get the job done, we're bringing together all the key players around a shared commitment. Let me describe it. Governments, like those in Africa, that are committed to agricultural development and food security, they agree to take the lead, building on their own plans by making tough reforms and attracting investment. Donor countries, including G8 members and international organizations, agree to more closely align our assistance with these country plans. And the private sector, from large multinationals to small African cooperatives, your NGOs and civil society groups, agree to make concrete and continuing commitments as well, so that there's an alignment between all these sectors. That's why I've proposed to continue increasing funds for food security. So I want to be clear. The United States will remain a global leader in development in partnership with you, and we will continue to make available food or emergency aid. That will not change. But what we do want to partner with you on is a strategy so that emergency aid becomes less and less relevant as a consequence of greater and greater sustainability within these own countries. That's how development is supposed to work. That's what I mean by a new approach that challenges more nations, more organizations, more companies, more NGOs, challenges individuals, some of the young people who are here, to step up and play a role.
Narudi nyumbani. Been around the world, seen a lot of things, a lot.